Hi, welcome to the Action Speak Network. I'm Manazai. So today, Doug Ford, the Premier of Ontario in Canada, went on CNN where he was interviewed about the 25% tariff that he posed on the electricity for more than 1.5 million families across the US, especially in the state of New York. And also his order that all American drinks be removed from Ontario stores. The exchange between Premier Ford and the journalist was very interesting. Please watch this interview and let's talk after. Play the clip.
Let's discuss with Doug Ford, the Premier of Ontario, which is the province that started to impose that surcharge on 1.5 million homes and businesses in the United States. He also ordered all U.S. alcohol to be removed from Ontario shelves. Premier, thank you so much for sharing part of the afternoon with us. What do you hope to achieve with this surcharge? What needs to happen for you to remove it?
Well, first of all, thanks so much for having me on, Boris. And I start off every interview with telling Americans that Canadians love Americans. I love Americans. It's one person that's caused this problem, and that's President Trump. As he is putting tariffs on us, even if he says he's putting it on hold, there's still 60% of goods that are crossing the borders that will be tariffed, and it's hurting both economies. It's hurting the American economy. It's hurting the Canadian economy. Uncertainty is what people don't like hearing in general life, not to mention the markets are tumbling, and investors from around the world are looking twice at America and Canada to invest in. There's no reason for a recession. I call it the self-made Donald Trump recession. He ran on a mandate to lower prices, to make sure we didn't have inflation, to create more jobs, and it's backfired. So let's sit down at the table and let's start working on a new USMCA deal. Even though President Trump said it was the greatest deal he's ever made, nothing's changed, so I guess it's not the greatest deal now.
His argument would be that he's trying to remake the American economy, to produce more goods that are currently imported into the U.S. here at home. With these electricity surcharges, you say that the move is designed to protect your province. The administration, if they see it as an escalation and they reciprocate with tariffs on lumber, steel, and dairy, ultimately, doesn't that hurt your constituents?
No, we're looking at negotiating through strength. If he cuts off the lumber or puts a tariff, do you know whose costs are going up? It's the American people that want to buy a home. They're going to pay more for their home, or steel that they need, or aluminum. That is only 16% of aluminum's manufactured in the U.S. They rely on over 60% aluminum to come down there for their goods. High-grade nickel coming out of Ontario. That 50% of the high-grade nickel for your military, aerospace, and manufacturing comes from Ontario. And the list keeps going on and on and on, not to mention the 4.3 million barrels of crude oil that we ship down every single day. So I believe in building an AMCAN fortress. Let's make sure that we focus on having the two greatest countries in the world, the most prosperous, the richest, the safest. The problem's not Canada, it's China right now. And he has to keep an eye on China.
I do want to ask you about the question of fairness, and specifically on one claim, because I've heard it from Trump and a number of officials in his administration, most recently Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. He argues that Canada has a 255% tariff on dairy imports. The administration has cited that over and over again. Is that number accurate? Do you think it's fair for American dairy farmers?
Well, what I'd like to do is sit down and discuss these issues with them at a USMCA table. What I will tell you this, if we take the 4.3 million barrels a day that we ship down there to keep your economy going off the balance sheet, the U.S. has a $56 billion surplus, a trade surplus with Canada. I'm okay with that. That's fine. Things were going fine. Everything was moving forward. Market was going up a little bit. Everyone was optimistic. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he wants to attack his closest neighbor and ally. And his number, I call, are their number one customer. You don't attack your number one customer and expect the results that he thought were going to happen. Protectionism does not work, especially between Canada and the U.S. Maybe you should take a page out of Ronald Reagan's book.
Premier, I do want to ask you about Mark Carney. He is in line to become the next prime minister. We saw Justin Trudeau's relationship with Trump evolve and then ultimately degrade. How do you think Mark Carney is going to approach President Trump?
Well, Mr. Carney is a very, very bright individual, and it's up to Mr. Carney to build that relationship with President Trump. They're both bright people. Let's make no mistake about it. Agree or disagree with President Trump. He understands finances. So does Mark Carney, and so do I. We're business people. And if we sit down around the table, we can resolve the problem and make sure that both countries prosper, like the likes of which this country's never seen, or the likes of which the U.S. has never seen, if we work together.
Premier Doug Ford, we appreciate you joining us and sharing your point of view.
Thank you so much, and God bless America and God bless Canada. Thank you so much.
After listening to this very interesting interview between the Premier Doug Ford of Ontario and the journalist of CNN, I believe you now understand better what type of response the Canadian government is preparing for the US tariffs. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 1,000. I'm out.